further ado, John Garda, welcome to the show. Thank you. Let's get you unmuted. No? Okay. There's something going on with your audio. Okay, now you're muted again. Yeah, now there's some kind of a wobble. Shawn, you ready to go just in case? Shawn is frozen. Okay, Shawn's ready to go. Okay. All right. So, Shawn, let's go ahead and go straight to you. And Garda, we'll get your audio fixed up. Okay. You ready to go, Shawn?
Yep. Good to go. Can you hear me good?
Okay. The second most handsome person in cocktails and mixology, all the way from Victoria, BC. We just saw each other in Montreal, and you gave a talk that was really, really inspiring. You're a great speaker. You're one of the few people who knows like everything. You've forgotten more about cognac than any of us has ever remembered. You've got this brutal publishing schedule on the Post Shift podcast, which is always full of people. I've been drafting your podcast for a year now. It's great. Like anytime you have a guest, I just call them and see if they want to be on my show. That's pretty much how that's my entire model. But yeah, so Shawn, thank you so much for doing this, and I look forward to hearing your story. Take it away.
Thank you very much for having me, Jason. I really been looking forward to this one, and I kind of want to talk because I'm actually in the middle of doing it as well, and that is getting everything you need when it comes to opening your first bar in writing. Started opening my first bar like 28, 29 years old, and it was my concept, my branding, my everything. And I remember sitting in like meetings with lawyers, and lawyers like, well, what happens if you have an issue with your shareholders or your investors? I'm like, that won't happen. Who would get rid of the person who created the concept and everything else? Obviously, you have your first year is always a tough year. And again, 29. My wife always says that it's kind of like you rush. Once you get engaged, you rush to get married. And that was kind of it. Like I had investors come in at 29 years old, 28 years old, go, hey, we want to invest $500,000 into you. And you're just like, fuck yeah, let's do it. Can I swear, Jace? Is that okay?
I've been doing it all
cool.
night. It feels good.
Let's do it. Let's go. And we did it really quickly. Unfortunately, like I just made some silly mistakes. The same lawyer that wrote up the shareholders agreement also was the lawyer for my partner, which really did not help when everything went to shit after 15, 16 months. And it really hit me really hard. You lose your first restaurant. It's always a tough thing to go through. And I think as hospitality people, we do a lot of stuff with passion. So business is always in the back of our head. Fast forward like 3 to 4 years, and I had someone else come to me, and he was another bar owner. He was a bar owner in town, and we sort of met through the industry and got to know each other through the industry. And I was like, oh, well, this time's going to be different because I'm with someone who else is in hospitality and gets what it's like to run businesses and that sort of thing. So I went into this business with him, and then Zane knows what I mean. So again, it's always like red flags that you look back and you're like, Jesus fuck, you're an idiot. Like, why didn't you stop and go, hey, I need more stuff for this? And there was a red flag in the middle of construction. I was doing most of the construction myself because it was a small space that had really good bones, and we were just like RFP and stuff. And my partner sat down and he was like, yep, this is going to be my retirement plan. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, this place is going to make me so much money I can retire off this place alone. And I'm like, that's not really what I want to hear at all, like 3 months before we open. And then something happened with liquor licensing, which I thought was in place because I had a partner who was in hospitality, who I let have the bandwidth to do certain things. And I would check over everything, and I thought everything was aligned, and we had some falling out with the hotel and liquor licensing. And the day after everything went, he changed the locks. Fucking changed the locks, stole a bunch of my shit. And then I was out for a ride because it was obviously stressful, so I was out for a ride on my motorcycle, and I was like, I got a text, and I texted him, I was like, what are we going to do? And he's like, listen, man, I'm really stressed. I'm just going to drain the bank account, the company bank account, and go to Mexico for 6 weeks. I'll hit you up when I get back. And I was just like, I can't believe I fucking fell for it twice. And Fell for it twice, and I thought it was going to be different because it was hospitality people. And everybody can just be dicks. When it comes to business and saving your own hide, it doesn't matter how good a friend you are, family members, anything, everybody's going to look after themselves. Everybody's going to look after themselves at the moment. I don't feel I would. I feel like I probably am the person who'd be like, you know what? Yeah, drain the bank account, go to Mexico for 6 weeks. When you get back, we'll reconnect. We never reconnected again. So now I'm actually going into this again with a very good friend of mine. He's probably my best friend. Sorry, Jace, in the world. And so we're actually going into business together with a new venue. And he's putting pressure on me to make sure that everything that we do, management contracts, shareholders agreement, everything, is completely in black and white, signed and sealed. Different lawyers, the whole shebang. And so I suppose the takeaway from all this is don't get caught up with pushing your passion forward and feeling like that, oh, I got engaged, I need to get married now, or I got married, I need to have kids now, sort of mentality in your personal life. Passion's going to be great. It's going to keep you going all the time. But you've got to have that business mentality in the back of your head and make sure you're covered. Because if you lose a restaurant and you have a partner, my wife, who should not be with me, I should have been divorced like 3 times over the last 20 years. Like, she should have gone and fucking boot the door. She's just a really understanding woman. But you have to think is like, if you lose a restaurant, you could have to go to personal bankruptcy. And that really fucks you up on a personal level for a long time. If your business goes bankrupt, that's your business. You'll have some fallout, but like, that's your business. So make sure you structure everything that while it is your passion project, your personal like driver, make sure that you're covered everything financially and everything with all your people that are involved in the business completely in black and white, so that you don't end up holding an empty pot, because chances are someone will fill their cup up first, and then someone else will fill up their cup, and someone else will fill up their cup and their cup before yours even gets a dribble. So that's probably my biggest thing out of this mistake. The mistakes were made was like, trust your gut. And honestly, it sounds really pessimistic and horrible at this stage in life, but don't trust anyone, even people who you've trusted for a really long time. And if they get offended that you want to put everything in black and white and everything is like finite to the nth degree, then chances are they're trying to be cagey to start with. So look for red flags. Like, look for simple red flags. And if those red flags give you like a little in the pit of your stomach, like, make sure you like put your hand up and go, hey guys, I'm not happy with this direction that we're going right now. And there's been red flags. I look back and there's red flags here, red flags there, red flags everywhere through each one of those relationships that I'm like, okay, well, I need to make sure that I like am very vocal about why I'm feeling this way. And just make sure you do it, because we're all, I think, hospitality people, we're rooted in passion and looking after people. So it's really hard to like put that passion aside, think about business, and look after ourselves. Like, I'm sure there's been mental health talks and health talks all the way through this thing. Like, we rarely look after our mental health and our personal health first before we look after our team and our restaurant and our guests. And so we're at the epicenter of something that we're not taking care of. And then you're going to need to make sure we take care of that first before everything else, because everything else will just stop. I think that's where all my mistakes happened. I hope that didn't sound too jaded. I feel like everybody.
I mean, you know, when you've been doing it for a couple decades, and the J word might count. Yeah,
I stay positive, but man, like there was some times when I was like, why am I in this industry anymore?
Yeah. No, there's lots of really good comments on this as well. Contracts keep people friends after the dust settles.
Very good point.
Totally true. And it's like how can you trust somebody who is reluctant to get into like a legal partnership with you that like limits your liability, that like defines the roles very clearly? I mean, you know. You can always kind of color outside of the lines after the document is done.
Yeah.
Like, you can be like, okay, cool. Well, technically this is something that we're supposed to do, but given the circumstance, then I'm willing to work with you a little bit, you know, et cetera. But yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
And I don't know why
I do a lot of things with that contracts, but I think
the place now I'm just like, it's just like, this is ridiculous. Why are you doing this again, Shawn? But then I realize that I need to do it for some strange, weird, narcissistic reason.
Yeah, yeah. Yes is the answer. What is the question?
100%.
Cool. If you guys have any thoughts, questions, or ideas, be sure to put them in the chat. This is a really active chat, and I just really appreciate all of you guys showing up. This is like kind of a silly idea, and I was just like, I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, but this is bringing a lot of positive memories and a lot of teachable moments to the spotlight. You'll notice that I haven't actually done a chat myself, but I think that the next one that we do is I may have some fun stories that have been sparked. I've been taking notes on this. All right. Is there anything you want to add before we have John Garda to close out the night?
No, I think I'm good. I think it's been great.
Okay. All right. So I'll just refer back to my clumsy introduction from before of John Garda. He is he's in charge. He's in charge of In Service Society, which is a not-for-profit that serves bars and bartenders, and that is sorely in need, especially in a time when things are really fucked up. Things are really fucked up out there. Like we got people that are afraid to leave their houses. They're getting killed out there. And so, we're gonna need some advocacy organizations that are actually effective. And I guess while we're telling the truth here, that's not going to be the USPG. So, okay. All right. Well, without further ado, please welcome John Garda.
All right. How's the mic this time? Better?
Really good. That's it.
Okay, perfect. So, hello to all of my old friends and all of the friends I can't see in the chat and all of my new friends here. So excited to be here with you all to tell some stories. So, my little chat was titled, Do Not Pass Go, Do Not Collect $200. And there's a real great tangent here coming off a Shawn story. So, I have had a lot of different careers because I'm a creative person. I always want to explore stuff. I want to try things. I had a career in finance. I had a career in operations, and then wound up getting back into hospitality probably about 2010, back behind the bar. After, way back when I had started as a dishwasher and working in pubs and nightclubs and all that good stuff. And it was beautiful. It was coming into a space where you can be creative. You can be yourself. You can be a degen, and along with everybody else who's also being a degen, and it's not going to be the end of the world, which was, in its own right, pretty refreshing. And I found myself in Manhattan bartending with amazing people back when, the USBG still had almost all of these faces in it, right after Jason's tenure as president, actually, and then, which eventually I became president of the USBG chapter here as well. But, that's just to say that I really poured myself into the industry. And I have to say, hardworking degens is right. And I really got to say, there is no industry that gives as much back as this one when you pour it all in. This is really, it's phenomenal in that regard, where there was a dream back then where if you worked hard, if you learned and you educated yourself and you went to the classes and you took the time to learn not just the steps of service, but the cocktails and the history and how to engage with human beings in an empathetic way, that was a recipe for success. That's how I met most of the people in this chat. And it was a really beautiful time. And, I noticed that times they've been changing. But, from bartending and running programs in Manhattan and I started a consultancy a few years after doing that, where I was able to leverage my financial background, my operational excellence, my absolute fervor for systems and processes that help allow creativity and hospitality to flow. And that took me around the world, and it was beautiful. And then wound up going onto the supply side and had a really beautiful, just straight grand slam around the bases. Everything was looking great. And then, 2020 came and everything started to shift. But I had, being good with money, had saved up a pretty sizable nest egg and was ready to either buy a house or start my own venue. I went with the venue idea, and I had an investor lined up. I had a whole bunch of things. I had pulled all the pennies that were mine and all of the ones that weren't, and really decided, hey, let's try it. let's take all that energy where we can pour back into the people who are trying to grow in this industry, where we can create not just regulars, but the next generation of people who are going to carry the torch of quality and hospitality and love. And, man, I was so pumped. So, unfortunately, I wound up getting bamboozled, defrauded, and bankrupted all in the same time. Yeah, so needless to say, no house, no venue, although I did drive by that very same place that I had gone through and looked at, and we had the tenant improvement terms all worked out. We had a great lease. I had pulled in favors from the from all of my family to meet with the developers of this building. Beautiful 6,000 square foot venue right in the harbor side in Jersey City, ready to do a distillery/bar program, you know, after having spent time at, Happy Accidents with Kate and having her share the wisdom of her process and her program there. And I was just so inspired. I couldn't wait to just like grab it and be like, yes, this is the thing we can do. And then I had nothing. And I found myself starting back at zero, all the way back, you know, no hotels, no houses, no chance cards, nothing. And what I did have was a ton of really great people and a ton of really great experiences and a lot of wisdom that was hard earned. And that was what inspired me actually to create the nonprofit, because looking around, the industry is tremendously different than it used to be. And the bartenders coming into it now don't have the same kind of membrane or net that we had as a community. And I didn't see anybody doing anything about that, right? Like all the old organizations that were kind of set up to help drive this community into the next era kind of fell by the wayside. There was nobody leveraging technology. There was nobody leveraging ways for us all to connect in real time beyond a WhatsApp group or a text chain or a Facebook Messenger, where it's like, oh, great. How do we get this to the next level where we can have real-time education, where we can have real-time inspiration and real-time connection, and have career sustainability and economic opportunity beyond just, oh, here's the path. Bar back, bartend, maybe be a bar manager if you know how to write emails and show up on time. Maybe if you're good at that, you can go into the GM route or the supply side, and then you just do that until you get your real estate license, right? So, hey, that's the whole life cycle of hospitality, right? But there's so much more, and I know that like now, especially given the economy and everything else, just leave that, the idea and the dream of ownership is something that's so far removed from our day-to-day reality that there's got to be other routes. And I don't know what they are. I don't have all the answers, but I do have like I said, a lot of connections and a lot of hard-earned wisdom that maybe there is some way all of our brilliant minds can come together across this country, across this world, and start talking about solutions to the same problems we've been talking about since Jason and I did Shift Owner. Like, what are we doing about equity? What does equity look like in an era of Web 3? Why don't we have health insurance? Why are these still the same problems? Case in point, I've already reached out and had conversations with somebody who's, hey, Matt, got a catastrophic insurance solution for everybody in New York City that he's trying to get, the proof of concept done, where $40 a month would get you $50,000 in catastrophic injury insurance. That's pretty crazy. That's something that we can afford that would change the game, right? But these are not conversations that brands are having because it doesn't necessarily impact their bottom line. So I was like, how can I take all of that hardship and turn it into something positive? And that's the lesson that I learned from my failure of having to declare personal bankruptcy after being defrauded and bamboozled by not just an investor, but a family member, and turn it into something that could help not just me, but generations of people to come.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a rough couple of years. And then strangely enough, when I got back into it, the two brands that I started working with became either insolvent or unable to continue paying people. you know, just a weird thing to have happen twice in a year. But
That sounds pretty
our
ominous. It sounds pretty ominous and prescient because that's what's about to happen. I don't think we need 7,000 fucking whiskeys.
Yeah. As long as we don't get down to like, you know, communist Russia or you have one state sponsored whiskey, I think we'll be okay.
Right. Shawn, you might like this. This guy keeps popping up in my feed. He's like, here's why you should move to Canada. And it's not like because like Trump is crazy and like, you know, because our government's crazy. It's like because our money's colorful. And you can go to the doctor when you're sick, and you're not going to be paying for that for the rest of your life. And he actually makes some good points, so I'll see you real soon to raise your rent. All right. So we have. Thank you so much, John Garda, for sharing the story and the inspiration behind the work that you're doing within Service Society. I look forward to seeing what happens next with that. All right. So we have a bonus Matt Friedlander today. So we. Yeah. So Matt was like, I got a kid and this is super hard. Been there, done that. I'm just saying. And so we put him to bed and now he's back to actually present live. So if you have a chance, definitely watch the video that he recorded. That's going to be that link has already been emailed to you, I believe, or it's going to be emailed to you at about right now. But Matt is going to do it live, and that's going to wrap up the show. You're going to be the last presenter, so don't fuck this up, because we have to finish strong and you know, crying out loud. Okay, so from MF Hospitality, we've got Matt Friedlander, who's going to talk about how he treats his team like it was a band, and why everybody cannot be Mick Jagger. So Matt, thank you so much for coming on. Mistakes were made, and tell us about your favorite fuck up.
Yeah, my favorite fuck up, or one of my favorite fuck ups. Thank you very much for having me.
Sure.
And it's great to see everybody. Yeah, I came up with this analogy years back when I started GMing. The idea of putting together a bar team as if you were assembling a band, and I think it's not a new philosophy or a new approach to hiring and or training. It was just a really helpful analogy for me to pass on to people. And the example that I used to use and still kind of do is the Rolling Stones, and the idea that the Rolling Stones, in sort of their classic heyday lineup, was comprised of 5 people that all brought 5 very different things to the band. You had Mick Jagger, you had Keith Richards, you had Bill Wyman, you had Ronnie Wood, and you had Charlie Watts. And thinking about the fact that every single one of them has a very specific skill set that no one else in that band can really replicate. Everyone brings certain dynamics or lack of dynamics to the team. And also the inevitable analogy that a band comprised of 5 Mick Jaggers would be a lot to watch. A band comprised of 5 Keith Richards would never show up to their shifts on time. But also, on the flip side, that a band of 5 Charlie Wattses may not be that interesting to look at. And so what I would try to do is, find sort of like, the front man, the lead guitar player, the really, really solid rhythm section that could keep their cool and keep level heads when things would inevitably spiral out of control. And what you find is that everyone brings a certain thing to the table, but also everyone relies on everyone else in order to get through those really, really tough shifts. And more often than not, you need that, sort of balance of level-headedness, as well as someone who can really distract the crowd and keep their eyes looking over here while everything is on fire over here. So in the summer of 2020, I was managing a restaurant. We were obviously operating under very different circumstances as we were in the middle of COVID pandemic. But we were fortunate in that all of our seating was outdoors. So we were actually given a bit of a head start or an advantage over, say, some other businesses that, focused more or had to rely on indoor dining. And it was a really, really, really interesting time around the city in that restaurant. We were very much seen as incredibly popular. We did very, very high volume all the years before that we'd been open. And so we were kind of operating under this new thing where rules were kind of changing every day and guidelines were shifting, and are we allowed to do this? Are we not allowed to do this? And there was also a lot of interesting concerns coming from our guest base as well. Guests were still coming to restaurants and still expected a certain level of service. Some guests were more understanding of the limitations we were working under than, say, others were. But I think at this particular point in the summer, everyone was really kind of just looking to get back to some level of normalcy, or whatever that means. And it was a Sunday. It was a really, really, really gorgeous weather day out. We were as busy as we could be. Bartenders were bartending, servers were serving. I'll give you guys a hint. Oyster shuckers were shucking. And there was, and our kitchen was very, very busy. I was GMing, and I was just kind of sort of floating around, touching tables, making sure that my team had everything that they needed. We weren't really at the point of capacity or volume where anyone was in the shit. It was more about just, we were that level, nice sort of ideal, steady level of busy where everyone's always doing something, but no one's really, really slamming. And then I noticed that, for about 10 to 15 minutes, that volume just kind of dropped off. No one had anything to do. I didn't see any oyster tickets getting printed. I didn't see any bartenders shaking or stirring. There were people sitting at tables, and there were people milling about, but nothing was happening. Eventually, my gut kicked in, and I went downstairs to the kitchen and noticed that our kitchen display screen, and I still don't really know how this works. That tells you what a great GM I was. But something about the kitchen display screen and how that affects every other component of your point of sale, the KDS went offline. Really, really briefly, from what I've been told from our POS provider back then, maybe offline for 45 seconds, which is not an uncommon thing, especially when you're relying on Wi-Fi and you're outdoors. But when the KDS came back online, it rebooted to a different device group. And this is really the story of the KDS that rebooted to the different device group. Because when we finally toggled it back, we were behind by, I think it was 47 tickets. And this is a combination of food and cocktails and beers and wines and oysters.
Before you start saying stuff like that, can we just have a trigger warning before you say things like that?
I apologize. I do apologize.
My heart is racing.
Yeah. I will say this. The bartender who was working at Point remembers this very, very clearly. She was wonderful, incredibly talented, super charming, fast as all hell bartender. And she turned to the service well because the tickets were just going and going and going. And this was 2020, so we weren't talking about like actual printers anymore. It was just thermal slip, thermal slip, thermal slip, over and over and over and over and over again. And the KDS was, the first screen was completely full. You had to actually swipe the screen to get to the second screen to see the end of this. So immediately I went into GM panic mode. There is no delegation. I'm going to handle all this myself. Let's start barking orders. You're not going to hear please or thank you from me until we get through this. And I started grabbing whoever I could and basically redelegating roles, only to find about 30 seconds into what I was barking at everybody that they already knew what they were supposed to be doing. They had already started to adapt and roll with the punches. There were a couple of bartenders and a couple of servers that immediately started engaging guests and started rapping to them about the weather and about COVID and how we're so happy everyone's here. While the rhythm section was very, very silently, heading down to the kitchen to help scoop fries. One of our bar backs who kind of knew how to oyster shuck went back behind the oyster bar and started shucking. We had a service bartender who everyone here knows. I'm not going to say anyone's name, but everyone on this screen knows this service bartender and knows how badass she is. She pushed through all these tickets in, I would say, less than 7 minutes. Drinks all got pushed out. post-Hopalong.
What's the over-under that it's Candace Coy? I'm just going
to... It's not Candace Coy, but her name does start with a C.
Okay.
And it was one of those things where instead of me kind of needing to grab the reins of everybody and basically shift everyone into a new role, the band already kind of knew how to fill in for each other. And the band kind of knew what to do when, just to draw the analogy out a little bit further, when the guitar player's string broke or if a mic cable got cut. Everyone had already been doing this and rehearsing together and performing together, which, like, let's face it, a lot of what we do is a performance. And this idea that that our guests are our audience and that we want them to see all the really, really beautiful things while all the dirty, nasty shit that happens backstage or underneath the stage or in the galley kitchen in the depths of the boat. They don't really have to watch that. They don't need to be privy to it. And it really, I think, just came back to the idea of not just assembling a team, but how you coach them and how you train them, and also giving people the autonomy and the freedom and the opportunity to really, really shine in their own roles. There is absolutely nothing that could convince me, and we're talking, almost 6 years later, nothing that could convince me that anything that I would have done in that moment would have worked half as well as what took place in front of my eyes, because the team was so great. And in that moment, they were all rock stars.
That was a good story. And I like the analogy. It's sticking with it the entire time. It's good.
I tend to do that. Everyone knows.
Okay. All right. Well, does anybody else want to share anything before we wrap it up? Okay, I want to share something with KBB. I was going to share something with KBB. She gave this to me a long time ago. I still have it. Oh, okay. All right. Your turn, Strange. Your turn, Strange.
What'd I do?
Oh, I thought you were... Matt, did you want to share something? Matt, did you want to share something?
No, it was me.
Oh, Rob, do it.
To almost bring this kind of conversation full circle, and what was Matt was talking about. It's like nothing I could do in that time was going to elevate the team or do anything for the team. When I sit there and talked about like breaking up the GM and going to 10 managers over a staff of 35, one of the things that we've been able to do is, because the team now is so confident, they're all trained up, they all know what the management roles are and everything. Cindy and I do not walk into the space after 6 p.m. We let them run the show.
Yeah.
And that is huge off of, so we get to now work on the business, not in the business.
Smart. Super smart. Okay. All right, guys. This went way better than I thought it was going to go, quite honestly. I wasn't sure how this is going to go, but I just want to thank you guys individually for being so patient and for being so generous with your time and your expertise and sharing a mistake. It's like it takes a bit of humility and bravery to actually just share something that you fucked up and what you learned. And I just really appreciate it. So I'm going to send you guys all the stuff, and you're going to get 1,000 more emails from me, I promise. And sorry, but
I've gotten 500 just during this call.
Yep.
This session.
Yeah, you see, that's what organization looks like. Yeah.
Apparently, it's starting in a few minutes.
Yeah. John, I think Garda is starting in a couple minutes. But we wrapped up mercifully early, 15 minutes early. And I'm so excited to kind of clean this up and share it with you guys. And everybody who's listening, thank you so much for being here. This is, I think that I would love to hear your feedback on like how the format worked, like if it was, but most of the people that were here in the beginning are here now. And that is, I would call that a win. All right.
Cool.
All right, guys. So this has been Mistakes Were Made. And I will see you at the next one. All right. Bye.
Later, everyone.
Later, guys.
Take care.